About 8 months ago, I had an experience where I was not able to breathe. There was nothing anyone could do. I just couldn't breathe. There was no air coming in or out. I physically wasn't able to breathe. I couldn't speak either because no oxygen. Eventually, after what seemed like an eternity, I was able to breathe. I went home, got some water, and was able to sleep well through the night. A little while later, I had an major headache when all of a sudden I lost the ability to speak, to physically make noises with my vocal cord. I could not speak. So I went to the emergency room, and it turned out I was a bit dehydrated, and so they pumped me up with lots of hydration and liquids to try to help me feel better. And after about an hour and a half, I was able to speak again with full, clear sentences. We keep going. Eventually, again, the breathing incidents started occurring much more frequently. Then I started falling even more, where I had a complete blackout almost, where I didn't know that I was on the ground. Moments later, I'm back up. Then there were times where it seemed like I had a complete seizure episode attack, where I could not control my body and the moves that it would make. There were times where my teeth would come down so hard that I was afraid I was going to bite my tongue and tear it off or things. So I actually would put celery in my mouth to hold on to so that my tongue nothing would happen to my tongue. And I went through a lot of celery just trying to have something not so I didn't break my teeth and hurt my tongue. Eventually I went to the hospital to see if I had any epilepsy seizures, or to figure out what was going on. And it turned out that I did not have epilepsy seizures, so thank Heavenly Father. Really thank Heavenly Father, because I was so afraid. It was getting to the point where I couldn't leave my house. I couldn't have mom. I had to have either one or the other parent at home at all times. I could not fathom being alone for more than a minute. It was getting really scary, and I couldn't do anything or participate in anything. But then I realized at the hospital that this all had to do with stress. This was my body's way of telling me when I was overstressed. And it was my mental illness that was telling me these things. And I have fibromyalgia, so when I'm stressed, it escalates into more bodily things. So I started thinking, what is mental health? What is going on? And I realized after many research, mental health is the emotions and what is going on and how I think, how I feel, what I'm saying, what I'm doing, and it all affects. So I started figuring out, okay, if this is what's going on and this is the result, if I'm shaking, if I can't breathe and I can't speak, and this is the result of stress, what do I need to do in order to not have this stuff so I can live a life? So I started figuring out what my triggers were. Started making a list of all the different things that were a trigger point for me. And then I learned to organize the things that I could control, like keeping my room clean, making my bed every morning, starting good habits, making sure I had clothes, good food, all those little things. And last, of course, I needed to make sure I was sleeping. Sleep was so important for me. So I made sure I was going to bed on time, getting up on time, doing all those things. I'm still working on this stuff. And finally, mental health is not something to be afraid of. It is something to recognize and learn how to have good mental health so you are not suffering the way I did. It has been about 3 months since I've had a major episode. And I am so, so grateful. So that's a little bit about what's going on here, and I hope that you've all learned something. Thank you so much for listening.